this one's a real beauty, isn't it? A lie so big, so perfectly wrapped, so neatly packaged that nobody even questions it. A lie so old that it's passed down like a family heirloom, whispered from one generation to the next with no one daring to ask, wait a minute, does this even make sense? No, no, no. You don't ask questions. You don't dig too deep. You just accept it. That's the rule. That's how the game is played. But games, well, they only work if you don't realize you're in one. Now, here's a funny little trick about human nature. People love their traditions. Oh, they cling to them like a lifeline, like a child clutching a worn-out toy that's falling apart at the seams. It doesn't matter if it's broken. It doesn't matter if it never really worked the way they think it did. What matters is that it's theirs. It was handed down, passed along, wrapped in sentiment, sealed with repetition. And that's all it takes. Do something long enough, say something often enough, and suddenly it's not just an idea anymore, it's sacred, untouchable, not to be questioned, because questioning, oh, that's dangerous, doesn't it? You ever notice how they react when you ask the wrong questions? Their faces tighten up, their voices get all high and nervous, like you just pulled the pin out of a grenade and tossed it in their lap. Why? Because deep down they know. Oh, they know. They can feel it, that little itch in the back of their minds, that nagging doubt they've been trained to ignore, but instead of scratching it, instead of looking at it head on, they do what they've been taught. They get defensive. They get angry. Because nothing makes people more uncomfortable than realizing they might have been lied to, that they might have believed in something that wasn't true, that they might have dedicated their entire lives, their time, their faith, to something built on nothing but smoke and whispers. And that's the beauty of a good lie. It doesn't just fool people, it owns them. A well-crafted lie doesn't need to be proven, it just needs to be believed. And belief, oh, belief is a powerful thing. Once you've got someone's belief, you don't need chains to hold them. You don't need walls to keep them in. They'll stay inside the prison of their own mind, locked up tight, defending the very thing that keeps them trapped. And they'll do it with a smile, with pride, with absolute conviction. So let's talk about this particular little lie, shall we? This ancient, unquestionable, time-honored tradition that nobody dares to poke too hard. It's been dressed up real nice, covered in reverence, whispered in hushed tones as if it's some great divine mystery. But the thing about mysteries, they only stay mysteries if you refuse to solve them. And this one? Oh, this one was never that hard to figure out. But people don't want to figure it out. They'd rather keep it right where it is, untouched, unexamined, safe. Because what happens when you do look too closely? What happens when you start peeling back the layers? That's when things get messy. That's when the illusion starts to crack. You see, this lie didn't start out as a mistake. No, it was crafted, designed, built for a reason. And that reason? Oh, it's never what they tell you. They'll say it's about faith, about obedience, about honoring something bigger than yourself. But that's just the wrapping paper, the shiny little bow on top to make it look nice. The real reason? Well, let's just say it's a bit more practical. Because every great lie serves a purpose, and this one was never about setting people free. It was about keeping them in line, about making sure they stayed where they were supposed to be, thinking what they were supposed to think, doing what they were supposed to do. And the best way to control someone? Convince them that convince them that if they stray too far from the script, they're not just wrong, they're damned. And that's the real trick, isn't it? The fear. Because fear keeps people in place. Fear makes sure they don't wander too far. Don't think too hard. Don't start putting the puzzle pieces together. They don't even need guards to keep them in check. They become their own guards. They police themselves, each other, making sure nobody steps out of line. And if someone does, they'll be the first to grab the pitchforks, to shout them down, to drag them right back where they belong. Because when you've spent your whole life building a house on a foundation of lies, the last thing you want is someone knocking on the door, telling you the whole thing is about to collapse. So they hold on to it, they cling to it, defend it, protect it, even when it doesn't make sense, even when the cracks start showing, even when that little voice in the back of their head starts whispering, something's not right, because the alternative is too terrifying to face. The alternative means admitting they were tricked, admitting they spent years, decades, maybe even their whole lives believing in something that was never real. And that's a fate worse than the lie itself. So they double down, they dig in deeper, they make excuses, stretch logic, twist reality itself just to make the lie fit. Because as long as it fits, they don't have to deal with the truth. As long as they can keep telling themselves the same old story, they don't have to see what's right in front of them. And what's right in front of them? Let's just say it's not what they were expecting. And once they see it, once they really see it, there's no going back. Now this is where it gets really fun. See, every great trick, every masterful illusion has one thing in common. It benefits someone. Oh yes, nobody pulls off a grand deception just for the sport of it. There's always a reason, always a purpose, always someone sitting in the shadows, counting the chips, while everyone else plays a rigged game. And the best part, the players don't even know they're in a game. They think they're making their own moves, following the path laid out for them, making choices. But in reality, their choices were already made for them. And who do you think made those choices? Who stands to gain from it all? Follow the trail. It's always there, hidden in plain sight. Just look where the power flows, look where the money goes, look at who sits on top when all is said and done. And don't just look at the surface. No. That's too easy. The real answers are always buried just beneath, right under the layers of ceremony, tradition, and moral obligation. Because that's how the best lies work. They don't just tell you what to do, they make you want to do it. They dress it up as righteousness, virtue, a sacred duty. They tell you that by following along, you're not just obeying, you're honoring something greater than yourself. And how people eat it up. Because people love a sense of purpose. They crave it. They want to believe that their sacrifices mean something, that their actions are part of some grand cosmic design. So when they're told that giving their time, their energy, their obedience is not just expected, but holy well, they don't just comply, they embrace it, they defend it, and they don't even realize they've been played. Because the moment you wrap control in divinity, the moment you make submission a virtue, you've got them. You've got them forever. No chains needed, no force necessary. Just a little bit of faith, a little bit of tradition, and a whole lot of blind devotion. Oh, but it's never just about belief, is it? No, no. If it was just about belief, they wouldn't need to keep reinforcing it. They wouldn't need to keep reminding you week after week, year after year. They wouldn't need to build grand institutions, set up elaborate rituals, make sure you're constantly reminded of what's expected of you. No, if something is truly self-evident, people don't need to be told, they just know. But that's the thing, isn't it? The ones in charge can't afford for you to just know. They need to make you know. They need to keep the story alive, keep you immersed in it, keep you so wrapped up in the act that you never stop to ask the one question that changes everything. Who does this really serve? And when you start asking that, when you start tracing the lines, following the breadcrumbs, seeing where it all leads, well, isn't that a sight to see? Because what you find at the end of that road is never quite what you were promised. It's not some divine revelation, not some grand spiritual truth. It's just power. Cold, calculated, well-protected power. And the ones holding it, they don't follow the same rules you do. They never did. The rules were made for you, not for them. They tell you to sacrifice while they hoard. They tell you to obey while they dictate. They tell you to trust while they take. And the funniest part? It's all done with a smile, with soft words, with a gentle hand on your shoulder, telling you it's all for your own good. This is how it's always been, they say. This is the way it was meant to be. And just like that, you nod, you agree, you comply, because it's easier that way. It's easier to accept what you've been told than to admit you've been tricked. But once you see it, once you really step back and look at the whole picture, it's almost laughable. The whole thing was never about you. It was never about faith or righteousness or honor. It was always about them. About making sure you stayed where you were supposed to, did what you were supposed to, and never asked too many questions, because questions? Those are dangerous. Questions lead to answers, and answers tend to ruin the game. Now this is where it gets really delicious, the fear of questioning. It's not the lie itself that keeps people in line, it's the fear of what happens when they stop believing it. That's the real leash. The invisible collar wrapped so tightly around their minds that they don't even notice they're being led, because if they did notice, if they even considered pulling at that leash, now we've got a problem. Now they might start thinking for themselves, and we can't have that. No. So instead, they're taught something very special, something very effective, a simple little rule that ensures they'll never stray too far from the path. Doubt is dangerous. Oh yes, that's the trick, isn't it? Make them believe that questioning isn't just wrong, it's evil, it's betrayal, it's rebellion. It's the kind of thing that gets you cast out, shut down, turned into an outcast, a pariah, someone standing on the outside looking in. And nobody wants to be on the outside, do they? No, they want to be safe, warm, surrounded by people just like them, nodding along, accepting, obeying. So they silence that little voice in their head, the one that says, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. They push it down, choke it out, bury it under years of conditioning, because listening to it, acting on it, that would mean risking everything, and everything is a lot to lose. You ever notice how quickly they shut you down when you start asking the wrong questions? Their voices tighten, their expressions harden, their hands clench just a little too tight. It's not because they have the answers, it's because they don't. And that terrifies them. Because deep down, they know they've never really questioned it themselves. They've never picked apart the things they've been told, never examined the cracks in the foundation. And if they start now, oh, that's a slippery slope, isn't it? One question leads to another, and another, and another, until suddenly the whole house of cards is wobbling, swaying, just begging to collapse. So they don't let it. They reinforce the walls, board up the windows, lock the doors from the inside, not to keep you out, oh no, to keep themselves in. Because if they let themselves think, if they let themselves see, well, then they'd have to do something about it. And doing something, that's terrifying. So they repeat the script, the same old words, the same old phrases, the same comforting little mantras. This is just how it is. You just have to believe. Some things aren't meant to be understood. Ah, that last one's my favorite. Not meant to be understood. What a lovely way to say, just don't think about it and everything will be fine. But will it? Will it really? Because if the truth is so strong, so righteous, so undeniable, why does it need to be protected? Why does it need to be guarded with threats and fear and rules about what you can't ask? Real truth doesn't fear questions. Real truth doesn't need to hide behind dogma. But this, ooh, this is different. This has rules. This has boundaries. Step too far outside the lines and suddenly you're not just wrong, you're dangerous. You become the villain, the blasphemer, the troublemaker, the one who's corrupting the others. And that's the real reason people don't ask too many questions. It's not just about what they might learn, it's about what happens to them if they do. Because they don't just risk losing their faith, oh no. They risk losing everything. Their community, their families, their very sense of identity. And that's a price most people aren't willing to pay. So they choose the easy road, the safe road. They keep their heads down, their mouths shut, their minds closed. They ignore the contradictions, excuse the inconsistencies, explain away the things that don't make sense. Because admitting the truth, really admitting it, that means stepping out into the unknown. It means rebuilding, rethinking, rewriting everything they've ever believed. And nobody wants to start over. Nobody wants to admit they were fooled. But the thing about fear is, it only works if you let it. Once you face it, once you rip off the mask and stare it straight in the eyes, you realize it was never as powerful as you thought. And then, oh, then the real fun begins. Ah, now this is where it gets really interesting. Control disguised as holiness. Oh, it's a beautiful little trick, really. A masterstroke in manipulation. See, when you tell people they're being controlled, they resist. They fight back. They push against the chains. They struggle. But when you make them believe that obedience is their own choice, that submission is virtuous, that giving up their freedom is an act of righteousness, then you've got them forever. No force necessary, no shackles, no whips, no bars, just a carefully crafted illusion. And the best part? They won't just accept it. They'll defend it. They'll cling to it, because questioning it would mean questioning themselves. And that's something most people just aren't ready to do. See, this isn't just about rules. No. Rules are easy to break, but beliefs own people. You make someone believe that the path laid out for them is divine, sacred, untouchable, and they won't just follow it. They'll enforce it. They'll police themselves. They'll police each other. And suddenly, you don't need to control them anymore. They do it for you. They make sure nobody steps out of line. They make sure the script is followed, the traditions upheld, the rituals performed just as they always have been. Because deviating, that's dangerous. That's rebellion. That's sin. And that's the real trick, isn't it? The fear of sin, the idea that if you stray too far, if you question too much, if you think too hard, you're not just breaking a rule, you're betraying something sacred. And betrayal has consequences, not just here, not just now. Oh no, the punishment is much bigger than that, isn't it? It's eternal. And once you dangle eternity in front of people, once you convince them that the stakes are that high, well, what won't they do to stay in line? What won't they accept? What won't they justify? And here's the best part. It doesn't even have to make sense. No logic is irrelevant. Reason doesn't matter. What matters is faith. That little word that makes every contradiction disappear. That magic word that lets them ignore their own doubts, their own instincts, their own mind. Because faith doesn't need proof. Faith doesn't need understanding. Faith just is. And once you get people to accept that, you can make them believe anything. You can tell them up is down, left is right, black is white, and they'll nod along, smiling, eyes glazed over, repeating the words they were given. Because thinking for themselves, that's dangerous. That's pride. That's the kind of thing that leads people astray, that puts them at risk, that makes them an outsider. And nobody wants to be an outsider, do they? Oh no, people want to belong. They need to belong. That's what makes this whole game work. It's not just about control, it's about identity. Because when you make the rules sacred, when you make the obedience a part of who they are, then questioning isn't just difficult, it's impossible. Because it's not just questioning a system, it's questioning themselves. You ever wonder why they react so violently when someone breaks away? Why they get so personal about it? You'd think if the truth was so strong, so undeniable, so divine, it wouldn't need to be defended like that, would it? But oh, it does. Because it's fragile. More fragile than they'd ever admit. And deep down they know it. They feel it. That little crack, that little whisper of doubt they've been trained to ignore. And when someone steps out, when someone refuses to follow the script, it forces them to look at that crack, even for just a second. And that's terrifying. Because if one thing isn't true, if one thing can be questioned, then what else? What else have they believed that might not be real? So they fight. They shut down the questions before they spread. They attack the doubters before they can plant seeds in anyone else's mind. Because they're not just protecting their beliefs, they're protecting themselves, their worldview, their sanity. Because if the truth isn't what they thought it was, then what is it? And that's the question they can't afford to ask. You ever notice how the ones in charge never follow the same rules they force on everyone else? Oh, it's a beautiful little magic trick. They hold up the rule book, the sacred laws, the divine instructions, and say, look, This is the way, this is the truth, this is what you must follow if you want to be righteous, if you want to be worthy, if you want to be saved. And oh, how the people nod along, obedient little sheep, never daring to ask the one question that would unravel the whole show. If these rules are so important, why don't you follow them? Oh, they've got excuses for that, don't they? Special interpretations, hidden meanings, loopholes so big you could drive a chariot through them. Oh, well, we have a different role to play. Oh, well, we have a different responsibility. Oh, well, we have been given authority to lead. Authority? Huh? Isn't that convenient? The ones who make the rules just so happen to be the only ones exempt from them. Imagine that. And yet, nobody questions it. Nobody stands up and says, wait a minute, if this is the truth, why doesn't it apply to everyone? No, 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 because that would be doubt. That would be disobedience. That would mean stepping out of line, and stepping out of line, that means punishment. That means exile. That means you're one of them. But oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's look at how the game is played. See, the people in charge, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't just take power, they make people give it to them, willingly, happily, with smiles on their faces. And how do they do that? Oh, it's simple. They convince them it's not about power at all. No, 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 it's about service. It's about guidance. It's about leading the lost, protecting the weak, helping the blind see the light. And doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound noble? Oh, but the best tricks always do. Because once you set yourself up as the guide, the messenger, the voice of something greater, well, now people don't just obey you. They need you. They depend on you. And once they depend on you, well, you can do whatever you like. You can twist the words, shift the meaning, mold the rules however they suit you and your followers. They won't even blink, because questioning you means questioning the whole system. And questioning the system, well, that's a one-way ticket to ruin. So they don't. They can't. And oh, the ones at the top, they love that. They bask in it. They sit in their palaces, wear their robes, count their gold, and smile down at the ones below, so grateful just to be allowed to serve. And if one of them, just one, dares to point out the hypocrisy, ooh, well, now that is dangerous, that is sinful, that is rebellion, that is heresy. And heretics, well, they must be dealt with quickly, harshly, publicly. Because if one person starts questioning, who's to say the rest won't follow? Who's to say the whole thing won't start to crumble? But here's the real joke. Here's the part that makes me laugh every single time. The people enforcing the rules, the ones calling for punishment, the ones defending the ones in power, they're not the ones in charge. Oh no, they're just the enforcers, the attack dogs, the foot soldiers in a war they don't even realize they're fighting. They think they're defending truth when really they're just protecting the ones who profit from the lie. And the ones profiting, ooh, they don't have to get their hands dirty. They don't have to fight for control. Why would they? They've got an army of willing believers to do it for them. And that's the real beauty of it all, the greatest trick ever pulled. because the ones at the top don't need to convince everyone. They just need to convince enough. Enough to keep the system running, enough to silence the doubters, enough to make sure the machine never stops. Because as long as the people believe the lie, as long as they keep turning the wheels, keep playing their part, keep giving their obedience, the ones at the top will never have to worry. They'll be safe, they'll be secure, they'll be untouchable. And the people below, they'll keep living their lives, following the rules, walking the path, never realizing that the ones who made the path never walked it themselves, never realizing that the rules weren't made for everyone, just them. Well, you know what people love? Stories. Nice, simple, comforting stories. They don't want reality. No. That's too messy, too unpredictable. They want a script. A beginning, a middle, and most importantly an end. A big, grand, meaningful conclusion that makes it all worth it. That's why they cling to the tale they've been told, the one that promises if they just keep their heads down, follow the rules, and never ever question too much, everything will work out just fine. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Someday they'll be rewarded. Someday they'll understand. Someday all their suffering, all their sacrifices, all their blind obedience will finally pay off. But you know what the funny part is? That someday never comes. It's always just around the corner, always almost here, always just one more test, one more trial, one more hardship away. But it never actually arrives, and yet they keep waiting, keep believing, because to admit otherwise, to admit that they might have been chasing a dangling carrot that was never meant to be caught, that would be death. That would mean facing the truth, the awful, ugly truth that maybe, just maybe, they were lied to. And people hate admitting they were fooled. They'll go to extraordinary lengths to avoid it. They'll bend reality, twist logic, convince themselves of anything to keep the story alive. Because the alternative means they wasted years, decades, maybe even their whole lives believing in something that was never real, and nobody wants to face that. That's why they don't like the ones who see through it. No, those people are dangerous. The ones who pull back the curtain, who start asking why, who start poking at the cracks in the story, they have to be stopped. Because if the lie is exposed, if the illusion shatters, if people start realizing the promised reward was never coming, well, what happens then? And that, my friends, is where fear comes in. Fear. The great enforcer, the invisible chain, the thing that keeps them all in line, keeps them all quiet, keeps them all obedient, even when the story stops making sense, because it's not just about losing faith. No, that would be too easy. The real threat isn't just that the reward was fake, it's that the punishment might be real. That's the masterstroke, isn't it? The thing that keeps them from even thinking about turning away. Sure, maybe the promise seems distant. Maybe the reward feels out of reach. Maybe some things don't add up. But what if I'm wrong? What if I stop believing and then, well, you know what happens to people like that, don't you? And boom, just like that, they're trapped. Not by force, not by chains, but by the most powerful prison of all, their own mind. And the ones in charge, they know exactly what they're doing. They don't have to prove anything, don't have to offer any real evidence, don't have to give any guarantees. All they have to do is plant the fear, water it, let it grow, and then sit back and watch as the people police themselves. Because once you get inside someone's head, once you make them afraid of questioning, afraid of doubting, afraid of even thinking the wrong things, well, you don't have to do anything else. They'll keep themselves in check. They'll keep each other in check. And the ones who don't, oh, well, they'll be dealt with. Not by the ones in charge. Oh, no, that would be too obvious. No, they'll be dealt with by their own families, their own friends, their own communities. Because nothing keeps a system running quite like the fear of being cast out. And the best part? Ooh, this is rich. The best part is that they think they're the free ones. They think they're the enlightened ones. They look at the world, at all those other lost souls, those other misguided fools, and they pity them. Oh, if only they knew the truth. If only they understood like we do. Ah, the irony. The absolute delicious irony of prisoners who don't even realize they're locked up. But here's where it gets really fun. Every once in a while, someone wakes up. Someone looks around and says, wait a minute, something isn't right here. And ooh, what a moment that is, that tiny crack in the illusion, that little spark of awareness, that first dangerous thought. And once it starts, ooh, it doesn't stop. It can't stop, because once you see the trick, once you recognize the game, you can't unsee it. You can't go back. And that's when the real fun begins.